I was lying in the ICU, wires tangled around my arms like vines, the steady beep of the monitor barely masking the silence of abandonment. The crash had crushed more than my ribs. It shattered any illusion I had about being loved. No one came the first night, or the second. By the third, a nurse named Elise whispered softly as she adjusted my IV. "Your parents called, asked if you'd be conscious enough to sign something." I blinked slowly, confused and hurting. "They said it was urgent property stuff. I told them you couldn't sign anything right now." She paused. "They didn't ask how you were." I had no clue what she meant not yet. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. The crash wasn't my fault. A delivery truck ran a red light while I was crossing in my small sedan, heading home from a late shift. I was a nurse. Too ironic, really, that I could handle blood and chaos until it was my own. The last thing I remembered before blacking out was a man yelling, "She's still breathing." I had broken both legs, fractured my collarbone, and suffered a mild traumatic brain injury. Weeks passed before I could hold a spoon without trembling. Still, I asked every day if anyone had come. The nurses lied kindly. "Maybe tomorrow." On day 27, my cousin Layla visited. She was crying before she stepped into the room. "You okay, Elle?" she whispered, grabbing my hand. "I just found out what they did." My heart thudded. "Who?" She pulled out her phone, showed me an email chain, legal forms, digital signatures. "Your parents signed your apartment over to David. They told everyone you wouldn't be needing it. They even changed the locks. He's living there now. David, my older brother, the golden child." My body couldn't even flinch, it hurt too much. But inside, something snapped, something raw and deep and irreversible. I blinked at Layla. "But it's in my name." She nodded. You gave them power of attorney during your last surgery, remember?" I had, weeks earlier, when they begged me to trust them just in case. It was supposed to be for medical emergencies, not for them to take everything I had. The betrayal hit like a second collision. They hadn't asked if I would walk again. They hadn't asked if I needed help. They had simply decided I was disposable. I spent the next 6 weeks learning to stand again, not because I wanted to walk, but because I needed to fight. Every morning I practiced with quiet fury. Physical therapy became my war zone. Every step was vengeance. When I was finally discharged, Layla picked me up. I didn't go home. I couldn't. It wasn't mine anymore. Instead, I went to her studio apartment, a cramped space filled with plants and warmth. She brought me tea and silence, which I appreciated more than words. Then she handed me a USB stick. "You'll want to see this?" It was a voice recording, my parents talking on speakerphone with David. "Once the deed's transferred, we'll make sure Elle can't contest it," Mom said coolly. "She won't even know what hit her." Dad added, "She's too weak now, and David needs space for his startup. It's not like she was using it." They laughed. They laughed. I pressed pause. I hadn't cried since the crash, but now I did. And it wasn't because I was hurt. It was because I knew for the first time I wasn't part of a family. I was a utility. Something to be used and thrown away. But they had made a critical mistake. I was still breathing. And I was going to make sure they felt every single breath I took from this point forward. Starting with the house that was no longer mine. I whispered to Layla, "Help me get it back." She smiled, fierce. "You're damn right I will." 2 months after I left the hospital, I was walking with a cane but standing taller than ever. Every time I wobbled, I pictured my brother sipping coffee in my apartment, using my dishes, probably thinking he'd earned it. That thought kept me from falling. Layla and I spent hours digging through the paperwork. We discovered my parents had used a shady lawyer, not even a full real estate transfer, but a family tenancy agreement disguised as a gift. That meant they hadn't sold the place. They'd claimed I had gifted it in gratitude to David for family support during my recovery. They had written a statement, in my name, with fake witness signatures. I wanted to burn the whole world down. But Layla stopped me. "You want revenge, Elle? Don't shout, whisper, and let them lean in close." So we built the plan. First, I called my building's HOA. I told them I was the original owner and asked about access logs. They confirmed David had moved in, but more importantly, they mentioned the apartment had unpaid fees my brother had been skipping monthly dues and left the balcony garden to rot. So I filed a complaint with the board under his name. Then I reached out to David himself. Not with confrontation, with kindness. "Hey," I texted. "Thanks for holding things down while I was sick. Can we meet? I have something to give you in person." He replied in 5 minutes. "Sure, just don't make it weird, okay? Let's keep it chill." He didn't even ask how I was doing. I met him at a coffee shop near the apartment. He came in smug, wearing my old hoodie, the one my ex gave me, as if he had claimed my whole life. I handed him a gift bag. Inside was a single USB. "What's this?" he laughed. "Proof," I said, smiling sweetly. "Of fraud, illegal tenancy, forged documents. Oh, and Mom's lovely voice saying I was too weak to contest anything. It's all there." His smirk dropped. I leaned closer. "I'm giving you a week. Move out, quietly. If not, the HOA gets this, and so does every tenant. Oh, and your startup investors, they'll love knowing you're living in stolen property." He stuttered. "You wouldn't." "Already did," I whispered. "This is just your copy." He left without finishing his drink. But that wasn't the real revenge. The real blow came a week later. I bought the apartment. Again. Legally. I had sold some stocks, pooled savings with Layla, and negotiated with the HOA after David failed to resolve his dues. Turns out they were considering foreclosure. All I had to do was buy the debt and reclaim the deed. The building manager smiled when I walked in. "Glad to have you back, Miss Alara." I walked through every room like it was sacred. My furniture was gone, but I didn't care. Then I did something small but powerful. I took the key and handed it to Layla. "This is yours for now. I've got somewhere else to be." She blinked. "Where are you going?" I smiled. "To get the rest of what's mine." Because my parents? They didn't know I was back. And I had something special waiting for them. You see, they thought they'd taught me humility. They hadn't. They'd taught me strategy. And soon, they'd be scrubbing someone else's floors just like they made me. 2 weeks after reclaiming my apartment, I showed up at my parents' house with a gift box and the kind of calm that terrified people like them. "Look who finally remembered where home is," Dad scoffed as he opened the door. Mom eyed the box in my hands like a hawk. "We didn't ask for anything." "I know," I said, stepping inside. "But you always told me to be grateful for what I was given, right? This is my thank you." They exchanged glances, clearly confused, maybe a little suspicious. That didn't matter. Inside the box were 2 crisp white envelopes, one for each of them. They tore them open without hesitation. Mom's face went pale first. Dad's lip curled. What is this?" he growled. "A work agreement," I said sweetly. "From a cleaning service I bought out last month. The one you sent me to work for on my birthday, remember? As a gift." I pointed at the fine print. "You're now assigned as housekeepers to one of our new luxury clients. You'll be paid minimum wage under contract, same as I was, full uniform, daily supervision. You know, humility." Dad exploded. "This is a joke, right? You think you can humiliate us like this?" I tilted my head. "Humiliation? No, I call it poetic." Mom sneered. "We won't do it." "You already did," I said calmly. "Signed last week. Remember that bank paperwork you thought was for refinancing? It wasn't. That signature's legally binding. You should really read what you sign." I pulled out my phone. "Oh, and if you break the contract, the penalty clause kicks in. That house you're living in? It's in my name now. You'd have to vacate in 30 days. The lawyer made it airtight." They stood frozen, staring. "You always said I wasn't grateful," I whispered. "But this is me finally giving back. I learned from the best." And I walked out, let them stew in silence. A month later, I visited the mansion they were cleaning. My mom was on her knees scrubbing the marble entryway. My dad was picking weeds out of the backyard garden. They wore matching gray uniforms. No name tags, no pride left. They didn't even look at me when I arrived. The new owner, Mrs. Calloway, an elderly woman with a sharp tongue and a soft heart, greeted me with a wide grin. "These two?" she said, sipping her tea. "Terrible attitude, but they've gotten better. I think they know what it feels like to be invisible now." I left her with a thank you basket and returned to my own home, the apartment I'd fought for, cleaned myself, bled to protect. But I didn't just settle back into life. I grew it. With Layla's help, I started a project called Second Shot. We took in young people who had been mistreated by their families emotionally, financially, legally. We taught them rights, helped them recover stolen inheritances, showed them how to build back better. I became the very person I once needed when I was lying in that ICU bed, alone, while my family signed my life away. I never told anyone what I'd done to my parents. I didn't need to. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a clean, silent house, with someone else holding the mob. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a burden. I felt like the storm, the one they never saw coming. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.